Hello, welcome to the first edition of Game Zone. I'm Lee Bentley. I created Game Zone to demonstrate the hottest video games ever made. Let's not waste any more time. Those who fail to learn from the past are condemned to repeat it. Let's get to the games. Let's enter the Game Zone. All right, gamesters, let's take some lightning-fast looks at some very hot games in 30 seconds of mayhem. Think I could get a job announcing wrestling? The Addams Family, Pugsley's scavenger hunt for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, puts you in control of Pugsley Addams as he runs and jumps all over the Addams mansion, searching for Addams heirlooms hidden by his sinister sister Wednesday. I don't mean they were hidden Wednesday, I mean they were hidden by Wednesday. Very similar to the previous Addams Family cart for the Super NES, or SNES as we call it, Pugsley adds greater graphic impact, longer game length, and nearly impossible odds. You won't be finishing this one in an afternoon, kids. Pugsley Scavenger Hunt for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Road Avenger for the Sega CD is an action-packed, beautifully detailed, interactive cartoon. You don't actually steer the car as you careen down mountain roads, into the lobbies of hotels, or into giant chasms, but speedy reflexes are most definitely required in this Dragon's Lair type game. And just when you think you're out of danger, try the advanced difficulty setting and see how much pain you can take, you girly gamer. Wolf Team, you've done it again with a seriously blastathon game. Road Avenger for the Sega CD. Echo the Dolphin for the Sega Genesis ranks as one of the finest and hardest video games ever made. Once you get used to controlling your finny friend, you'll be able to jump right into this marine mystery. Echo's family and friends have been kidnapped by some mysterious force, and it's up to Echo alone to save the world. What a familiar scenario. Sporting intense graphics and soothing sounds, Echo still manages to serve up one of the most challenging and innovative quests in video game history. I dare say both action and adventure game fans will get a kick out of Echo. Echo the Dolphin for the Sega Genesis. When the SNES made its debut, a lot was made of its Mode 7 scaling abilities. One of the first games to utilize this intense new technology was Pilot Wings. When you join the SNES Flight Club, you'll wind up flying everything from a biplane to a helicopter, along the way experiencing the thrills of hang gliding and parachute jumping, and making like the Rocketeer with your own rocket pack. While the game action is on the, shall we say, mellow side, this graphic treat is loaded with eye candy. If you missed this one the first time out, give it a look. Pilot Wings for the Super Nintendo.
Help! Town in danger. Atomic monsters on the loose. Warn everyone. Time running out. Well, all right. That takes care of the public service announcements.
It Came from the Desert was one of the few games made for the TurboGrafx CD system, but Turbo Duo owners should not dismiss this cinematic bugfest without a look. The little desert town of Lovelock has got big problems. Not only are they under attack by ants the size of automobiles, but also mysterious ant-droid zombies. And evidently most of the townfolk also suffer from a dread strain of overacting disease. I won't kid you. The actual gameplay elements of this game are not its strong suit. But if the idea of a totally weird, interactive, giant bug, rock and roll, teenage exploitation movie with psychic overtones makes you reach for your popcorn, give a look to It Came from the Desert.
Now, Goofball's going to play his little harmonica for us, and I'm hoping this nice young man could, tap dance for us? How about spoons? Surely you can play the spoons.
Louie, and E-flat.
Ah, Toe Jam and Earl. What else can one say? In this hilarious, scrolling adventure, you play one of a pair of aliens searching for pieces of your spaceship all over the strangest planet in the galaxy, Earth. Along the way, you'll meet some of the most oddball collection of creatures Gamedom has ever seen. You can search for your ship pieces solo, but Toe Jam and Earl shines like a diamond with 2 players. An oldie, but a classic. And where's the sequel, Sega? Toe Jam and Earl for Sega Genesis. The ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, Shakespeare's Hamlet and F-Zero. One of the finest games ever written for any platform, F-Zero is a classic by any reasonable standard. Terrific Mode 7 scaling makes this science-fictional racing game stand head and shoulders above any competition. And fierce challenge and addictive action keep you coming back for more. F-Zero for the Super Nintendo. Here's a game from Japan that, rumor has it, we might be seeing over here intact. It's Ranma 1/2 for the Turbo Duo. Solid Street Fighter II style action makes the game an okay, if not great, fighter, but the cartoon intermissions are some of the best I've ever seen in a video game. Of course, right now it's only available in Japanese from import stores, so it's hard to tell what's going on. But come on, TTI, let's see American versions of great games like this. Ranma 1/2 in action on your Turbo Duo. For all you Mode 7 fans out there, here's a quirky little game called Hyperzone. Owing more than a passing debt to the Space Harrier series, and with a tip of the pixel to F-Zero, Hyperzone nonetheless serves up a very interesting, if slightly contrived, challenge. I'd suggest trying this before you buy, but Hyperzone is also frequently discounted in retail stores, owing to its advanced age, so keep your eyes open. Not a blockbuster, but worth a look at least. Hyperzone for the Super Nintendo. Comic book fans rejoiced when Sega brought out Spider-Man in 1991, and rightly so. Properly called Spider-Man vs. the Kingpin, this cart lets you endure a complete Spider saga, including cinema screens. I think it's important for a licensed game to adhere to its source material faithfully, and Spider-Man delivers in huge chunks. Spider-Man vs. the Kingpin for Sega Genesis. Speaking of heroes, Ultraman is just about the most popular superhero character in the history of the world, and one of the most often licensed. So what happened, Bandai? While the familiar Street Fighter II fighting system does a barely adequate job on the game action, that's all there is. No story, no mid-game cinemas, no nothing. Even the 3 skill levels and different game endings can't save this lethargic slug session. And this was the first game I ever bought for my Super Nintendo. Boy, talk about naive. Look, ordinarily I don't give bad reviews. I figure there's enough good games out there to talk about, and the others are just wastes of time. But Ultraman had potential. Look, even Ranma 1/2, which I think is a superior game, isn't a very good Street Fighter clone, and the game action isn't really its strong suit, but it's got tremendous cinemas, and at least effort was made to make that an entertaining game. And no effort was made on the part of Ultraman. For rabid Ultra fans, completist collectors, or insatiable fighter cart fans who find it marked way down, okay. But come on, Bandai, we know you can make good games. Let's see what you can do with Ultraman 2. Ultraman, for the Super Nintendo. Finally, on our Heroes Parade comes Captain America and the Avengers. Devout fans of the arcade game will rejoice. Almost all of the arcade action made it into the cart, along the way fixing some of the embarrassing grammatical errors. With moderate graphics and not-so-hot-so sound effects, however, Cap will mostly appeal to die-hard arcaders or fans of the comic. A little more effort might have gone a long way and made this one fly. And it's just possible, to imagine a killer CD version. Be sure and try it before you buy it, but if you were a fan of the arcade game, chances are you won't be disappointed. By the way, one other thing. In the arcade, of course, you could have up to 4 players, but here in the cartridge, you're limited to 2. Where's this 4-player adapter for the Genesis I keep hearing about? Captain America and the Avengers for the Sega Genesis. All right, soldiers of the game universe, how do you win these darn games anyway? Maybe we'd better take a look at some tactics and strategy. Roadrunner Death Valley Rally is a very tough, very demanding game. There are no documented continues, a short supply of extra lives, and many opportunities to die. You earn a new life if you capture every flag on your current level. You also earn lives by finding bonus crates located in hidden places. But Roadrunner demands nothing more than strict memorization, superlatively agile thumbs, and superhuman timing to win. If you've been having trouble with the Death Valley Rally, we're here to help. We'll show you where to find every flag on level 1 to get you started. But remember, this is only level 1. Remember that eating birdseed increases the amount of time you have left in your speed meter, which is represented by the yellow line in the energy meter in the upper left corner of the screen. Here, the Roadrunner is standing on this mesa to collect the secret item, which in this case is an enemy stopping clock. In this case is what I meant to say. Also remember, you can kill enemies with your feet by skidding into them, as well as by pecking them with your beak. And notice that I didn't eat the birdseed at this point, because I don't in fact actually need it. It's important to note that if you're jumping from platform to platform, a good way to keep your balance and not fall off the edge is to keep the jump button pressed down. That way you won't skid and your momentum won't carry you over the edge. See, like that. There's a horizontally moving platform there that you don't actually have to wait for. Also, you can kill enemies by speeding through them, holding down the super speed button. But this is kind of an expensive way to defeat your enemies, so skid into them or peck them if you can at all times. Also, there are numerous secret entrances hidden all over the map. Yes, this is another game that'll have you running into walls for hours at a time. And secret entrances within secret entrances. How sneaky can they get? This is one horizontal platform you actually do have to wait for. You really can't get up enough speed to make the jump all by yourself. But it's important to jump far enough to jump over the cactus at the end of the ride. Also, be sure not to ignore that package as it comes down. You'll find out what's in it in a moment. What's on it? What's in it? Yes, that's right, a complete power-up of your life. Wouldn't we all like one of those in our own lives? Use your super speed in short bursts, otherwise it will run out pretty quick. As it is, it runs out pretty quick. Also, watch out for Wile E as he goes by beneath you on his steamroller or above you as you see here. Or through you as you saw there. And now you see him get his just reward. Have you ever fantasized about a game that would take you to the very bowels of our society, so to speak? Welcome to Sewer Shark for the Sega CD. Let's let the game introduce itself, shall we?
Another crash and burn. First time, huh, rookie? Hey, listen, I hear they're putting you in with Ghost today. Now that's my main man. Greatest co-pilot to ever shoot the tubes. Give him your best stuff, and he'll keep you flying.
Oh boy.
Maybe all the way to Solar City, huh?
launch Bay 7. Falco to launch Bay 7.
Showtime. I'm Falco. You'll be hearing from me.
That's nice.
Welcome to the sewers, punk.
Hello.
The guy you're replacing, he had that same tough guy smirk on his face that you do. Till he hit the wall. They're out there now blotting him up with handy wipes. But the ghost here, I always come back for more.
More handy wipes?
Let's go, rookie! Take a deep breath, rookie. Don't you love the smell of the sewers in the morning? They smell like victory. This here's the whole hog. I took her apart and I put her back together again. No matter what they taught you up at Talk Rat, factory jobs ain't worth scrap. I got some stuff in there.
8-track player.
It's not all strictly legal.
Bootleg 8-track.
It just might keep you off the wall. Now until you earn a better one, your call sign, Dog Meat. All right, climb aboard, Dog Meat.
Yes, sir, Spoonface.
Departures to launch Bays 5, 37, and 22.
It's showtime.
Crash and burn.
What'd you say?
Crash and burn. The sewer jockeys come and they go. But down here, this is the hole. I give you a name, a friend, a boss, and a reason to live.
The beach is my reason to live?
You're gonna owe me big, Dog Meat. And what's my payback? 1,000,000 pounds of tube steak.
Excuse me?
That's all you gotta deliver today, hot shot. You nail this one run, and we got a one-way ticket to Solar City.
Launch window for ship Gamma 11. Proceed.
Thus begins our quest into the mysterious sewers. By following Catfish's directions, we know which sewers to take, and the rest is all marksmanship as you send hordes of mutant ratigators, bats, scorpions, and other even more bizarre critters to sewer heaven. Here's a little tip. If you want to practice your marksmanship, you can ignore the first set of coordinates Catfish gives you, but if you ignore him the second time, and if you get good at shooting things, he will give you a second set of directions, you'll die. If you like Laserdisc games with full motion video, and I do, then this game's a treat.
Them down there suck their brains out.
Sewer Shark for the Sega CD.
Relax. Pretend it's a game. Maybe it'll even be fun.
Shoot the tubes, Dog Meat!
Super Star Wars is a run, jump, shoot adventure in which you control, at first, Luke Skywalker, and later on, Han Solo or Chewbacca, with occasional first-person sequences in which you drive Luke's landspeeder across Tatooine, or fly an X-Wing spacecraft zooming across the battle-scarred Death Star, and culminating in the final tension-packed showdown with Darth Vader in the trench. Super Star Wars is an incredibly tough game, so we've got a couple of tips here that'll have you using the Force in no time. At the very beginning of the game, shoot all of the scorpions that come out of that first rock, and eventually you'll get a gun power-up, just like that. Then the gun power-up you find much later on, here, will make you get the all-powerful Seeker. There are some other places in level 1 to collect weapon power-ups, but a true Jedi Master only needs the Seeker, at most, to beat the end-level boss. The secret here is to fire up into the air at an angle and face whichever way the boss is coming from. Also, jump up and down repeatedly and watch for his tentacle. Wherever the tentacle comes up is where he'll surface and you jump to the other side. Keep firing up at an angle and you should hit all the boulders and, of course, also do him tremendous damage. There you go. You're through level 1. The thing to do during the land speeder sequences is shoot Jawas. Now, you don't actually have to be traveling 100% forward in order to accomplish this goal, but once you've shot enough Jawas, and as you can see in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, there's a Jawa counter, counting down from, I think, 12 down to 0. When you've shot enough Jawas, the screen will flash head toward Sandcrawler. Now, by the way, the little towers you see going by there also give you jet fuel, which can be useful. It's kind of a super speed you can turn on, and we'll do that here in just a moment. Once it says head toward Sandcrawler, turn on the jets, aim toward the Sandcrawler, and let fly. You can't be hit while you're in the air. Okay, skipping quite a few levels, here we are at the very second to last level, flying the X-Wing fighter across the battle-scarred Death Star. Now, here again, as in the land speeder sequence, you've got a quota of things to destroy, in this case, TIE fighters and towers. The best way to get across here is to kind of skid your way across, zooming from left to right, kind of letting yourself slide across the surface rather than flying at things head-on, because you will tend to collide with them more often than not, flying at them head-on. Once you've shot enough TIE fighters and towers, you'll automatically be transported to here, the trench scene. Now, the thing to do in the trench scene is shoot fireballs. Ignore the TIE fighters. Well, don't ignore them. If you've got a good shot at one, go ahead. But mostly what can kill you are the fireballs, not the TIE fighters. This is true until Darth Vader's arrival. In fact, all through Darth Vader's arrival, you've still got to shoot those fireballs. Now, notice you've got a targeting computer there down on your control panel that's counting down. Now it's counting down from 2,000. When it reaches 0, and it will shortly after you blow up Darth Vader there, you must fire your torpedoes. Now, you get 5 tries. You shoot 2 torpedoes at a time, and you do that with the upper right button, usually found on the upper right-hand side of your Super Nintendo controller. And there you have it. By the way, you may have noticed I had 91 lives here in this game. That's because I used a trick back on the Land of the Sand People level where I fell off the cliff at the second starting stage and jumped into the cave and got some lives. But that trick's been documented in every game magazine known to man, and if you're having trouble getting that many lives or if you don't know about that trick, drop me a line. I'll let you know where to find it. To go from one view of the future of humanity to another, let's talk about Alien 3. Boy, I tell you what, those boys at Probe really put the acid spit shine on this sneaky shoot-'em-up for the Genesis. What I've got here is a tour of the first round, just to give you an idea of what's ahead. Gore and violence. This game has everything that makes electronic fun the cool hobby it is. One thing bothers me, though. Does it look like this game was intended to be licensed from Alien 3 or Aliens? I mean, if you subtract a few graphic touches like Ripley's shaved head and made a few of the trapped victims female, I really think this would be a lot more like Aliens than Alien 3. Well, whatever movie it's based on, it's a killer game. Choose your weapons with one button, jump with another, and shoot with the third. Xenoblasting has never been so easy. Of course, experimentation is still the best way to determine which weapons work best at which points, but take it from me. When in doubt, use the grenade launcher, like you needed me to tell you that. Take a look. Da-da-da! Look, up on the screen. It's a bird. It's a man with a bad haircut and a microwave oven chest implant. It's Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo, buffed out after being given the Captain America Super Soldier formula. No, what ridiculous suggestions. It's Sonic Blast Man. Yes, it's another run, jump, punch, savagery soiree with decided similarity to a game called Final Fight. In fact, you're looking at what could be an inspiration for that venerable punch party, if not actually, I know you can't actually see, but I'm doing little quotation marks with my fingers, a prototype, so to speak. In any case, somebody obviously inspired somebody. Let's just say this. Final Fight fans, and if you're a superhero fan as well, and who isn't, Sonic Blast Man is your cup of radioactive isotopes. And if you've never played Final Fight, but long underwear heroes pop your flashbulbs, check this out. Here's a few scenes, and I warn you, there's violence. Enjoy. One thing you'll learn pretty quick about Sonic Blast Man is that he can not only punch and kick his enemies, but also grab them. Grab a bad guy by walking into him at an angle. Now you can choose to unleash a barrage of punches or throw him across the room. Punch an enemy 4 times, so he's stunned, and you can unload one of 3 devastating finishers, which may damage his buddies as well. Ouch. As well as his amazing skills, Sonic Blast Man's got an incredible secret weapon, the Dynamite Punch. Charge up with the appropriate button on your control pad, then press punch to cause severe enemy suffering. Again, punch them 4 times and you can use a finisher on these robots. The judo throw is very effective if you're surrounded. There's one more move in Sonic Blast Man's repertoire. That's the spinning attack. While it does you no damage, it does make you dizzy and helpless for a moment. Stand at the bottom of the screen and use it against this robot boss. He won't find you if you don't move up. In the hit stage, rock the direction button on your control pad up and down as rapidly as you can. I usually put it on a flat surface and use one hand for the control button and the other hand to hit the punch button. Then punch when the glove flashes as close to the center of your target as you can for a Sonic Blast bonus.
Take that! Take that!
Skipping over a bunch of cool levels, we're coming to the last stage. The aliens in your space station are plenty tough and anxious to turn you into Sonic Blast burgers. So fight hard and try not to get too close. You're almost to the end of Sonic Blast Man. Jumpy little devils, aren't they? Next, for the Super Nintendo, we have Castlevania 4. Now, I think that the best video games combine the elements of a good action movie, the tricky riddles of a mystery, and mix in liberal amounts of addictive gameplay. That pretty much describes Castlevania 4. With the gorgeous, evil atmosphere of a classic Hammer Dracula horror movie, and adding in fierce challenge and exciting action, Castlevania 4 is what good video games should be like. Here's a few harrowing moments. All right, gamers, we've talked about some of the games. What about the machines they're played on? Yeah, I think it's time for a systems analysis look at the hardware wars between the Sega CD and the Turbo Duo. Hi. The Sega CD versus the Turbo Duo. Which one should you buy? Should you buy either one? Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight? Well, we'll answer all but one of these questions. First of all, yes, you should buy a CD unit because CD is the wave of the future. Second, which one should you buy? Well, that's up to you. It depends on which system has the most games you want to play. But since both systems have relatively high-quality libraries, although pretty small right now, there are other factors to be considered as well, among them price. The Turbo Duo is priced at about $300. So is the Sega CD. But the Sega CD must be attached to a Sega Genesis in order to run. If you don't already own a Genesis, that's another $100 to $150 you've got to spend. So a Sega CD package bought from the ground up might be as much as $450, maybe even more dollars. Now, of course, when you bought your Sega Genesis, you'll also get one, maybe even two extra games along with it. So that'll bring your total of games up to about 6 or 7, whereas the Turbo Duo, bought by itself, functioning by itself, would only have you 5 games with it, 4 games on CD and 1 on chip. Both systems, the Sega CD and the Turbo Duo, have pretty good libraries, although they're pretty small right now. But the software that comes with them is pretty indicative of what you can expect in the future, at least so far. Let's take a look at what each system has to offer right out of the box. The Sega CD includes 6 games, all on CD. Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective, Volume 1. The side-scrolling shooter, Soul Feast, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And a 4-in-1 CD containing Golden Axe, Revenge of Shinobi, Streets of Rage, and Columns. Playing Sherlock Holmes feels like watching a mystery movie where you control the plot development. While strictly canonical Sherlockians will detect several inaccuracies, mystery fans with a smattering of computer literacy will find it pretty gripping. Unfortunately, video game fans will probably use it as a drink coaster since it's utterly actionless. Now, I don't want to give the impression that I didn't enjoy this game, because I did immensely, but in this case I don't think I'm a particularly typical market. Soul Feast, so to speak, is an early Mega CD side-scrolling shooter, but unfortunately it's past its prime and does very little to show off the newer CD technology. And the 4-in-1 pack, while valuable to people who didn't already own these games, gives very little value to those who do. Revenge of Shinobi is a superlative example of scrolling ninja game protocols. Streets of Rage is worth a big bunch of the price of admission, being the best Final Fight inspiration yet, and the music, like that of Revenge of Shinobi, is excellent, both, I understand, by the same composer. Columns is a Tetris inspiration with gorgeous antediluvian graphics. And as for Golden Axe, well, let's just say it's a classic from days gone by and let it go at that. But while these are packaged on a CD, they're just the cartridge games with some additional sounds, not CD versions or upgrades. Adding in a few sampled screams, grunts, and explosions, Sega does not an upgrade make. A good showing here might have involved new cinema screens, different special effects, or perhaps and certainly almost mandatorily, different and more levels. This disc too really does nothing to highlight or explore the new technology. My overall feeling, since I didn't own but one game on the disc, was still one of waiting for the real CD games to come out. Sega also includes 2 music CDs, but the less said about those, the better. My final impression of the Sega CD was that of a system with immense promise. Its pack-in games are good, but not nearly up to the potential of the system. Do I recommend that you buy a Sega CD? Yes, I do. Not necessarily for the games currently available, but as the mighty Sega programmers and those of Sony and other third-party licensees learn to ride this particular wild mouse, I think you can count on getting your doors blown off.
Don't let them fool you. They may be scruffy and deal bread, but they are on the right side of the law.
The Turbo Duo is a hybrid cartridge CD system complete in itself. It also comes with 6 games. Ys, Book 1 and 2, which might actually qualify as 2 different games with the same look, feel, theme, and characters. A 4-in-1 CD with Bonk's Adventure, Bonk's Revenge and Gate of Thunder, and Bomberman hiding behind a secret code. And finally, a turbo chip game, Ninja Spirit. TTI has evidently learned from the days of Keith Courage in Alpha Zones that a good game will sell a system much better than a good system will sell a game. Each of these games was a good seller for TTI, and their ages ranged from very old to brand new, unlike the Sega CD, all of whose games were fairly old. Ys is a legend in the world of video role-playing games. If you're already an RPG fan, you will love this game. I'm not a big fan of RPGs, especially long, sprawling quests like this one, and I'm an Ys addict. Excellent competition for Sega's Sherlock Holmes. On the 4-in-1 pack, the Bonk Adventures are fine examples of the run, jump, and bonk school of scrolling ninja games, although including them both on the same CD seems a little much. This renders the 4-in-1 pack half bonk, half other stuff. However, you've got to respect TTI's thinking here. Bonk is the company's major star, and a 2-shot of Bonk seems like a fairly safe and aggressive move. But this is the equivalent of Sega's putting Sonic the Hedgehog's 1 and 2 on their 4-in-1 disc, something you'll notice they didn't do. But if you didn't already own the Bonk games, they are fairly pleasant, though the star of this disc is Gate of Thunder. And speaking of Gate of Thunder, this was the newest of the TTI shooters at that time, and wow, now this is what a shooter should be like. It's those hard-to-define production values again, the ones Nintendo seems to have down pat, and TTI scores a major hit here. By now, some of you may have seen Lords of Thunder, which we'll review next edition, and while it takes the best of Gate and improves it, Gate of Thunder is still one of the hottest shooters ever made. Speaking of Nintendo, now we come to Bomberman. This game, until recently, got my vote as the most addictive game of all time. This is a virtually flawless rendition of one of the old 8-bit Nintendo classics, with upgraded 16-bit graphics, sounds, and gameplay. Now it's been dethroned by the recent release of Bomberman 93, but including it on the 4-in-1 disc was a stroke of genius. Not a stroke of genius was making you access it with a secret code. At the title screen, push up, right, down, left, button 2. This might have been a moderately cool thing to do if only the fan press had revealed it, but then TTI had to insert this trick into their comic strip advertisements, revealing it to be the cheap marketing gag it always really was. Nonetheless, Bomberman is a classic in every sense of the word. Finally, the game included, so you can use your turbo chip slot, Ninja Spirit. Not much to say here, except that if this is what you're looking for, here's a fine example. Scrolling ninja games come with their own mystique and style, and Ninja Spirit has great respect for those traditions. One critique, the Japanese lettering all through the game and the referral to the PC Engine. Now, I don't have anything against keeping in the Japanese lettering. It's nice and pretty and it adds lots of atmosphere, but does it say anything I might want to know? If so, why not provide subtitles? Or if not, why is it there taking up memory? And if you're going to have a mode select between arcade and home system, be sure it's the home system you actually sell. How much trouble would it have been to go in there and change PC Engine to TurboGrafx? I know these seem like small details, but small details make up the larger game. Think Gate of Thunder. My final analysis? Well, the Turbo Duo has one other major advantage, the ability to play Japanese CD games right out of the box, something the Sega CD cannot do on its own. If you own a Turbo Duo and you don't find the CD game you want released in America, you can buy and play an import, although you still need an adapter for cartridge imports. And while the US releases from TTI are pretty slim, there is a giant library of PC Engine games to choose from. Do I recommend that you buy a Turbo Duo? I don't know what kind of games you like, so all I can say is that I did buy one, and I don't regret it, so far. If TTI gets those releases in gear, and I suspect this Christmas will be the proving ground, then it could be a very good year indeed for Turbo Duo owners in 1994. You know, video games didn't start with Nintendo. Back in the late 1970s and early 1980s, there were three main companies in the video game market, just like today. Atari with its Atari 2600, Mattel with its Intellivision, and Magnavox with their Odyssey 2. This time around, we're going to take a look at Major League Baseball for the Mattel Intellivision. While it's hard to imagine it now, back in 1978, these graphics were considered incredible, state-of-the-art, and they don't hold up too badly today either. And this game is a blast to play, almost more fun than even the latest 16-bit baseball games. And hear that crowd noise? That's the way video game crowds sound today. Either we haven't made much advancement in baseball game crowd sound replication, or they were really onto something back in the 70s. Major League Baseball for the Mattel Intellivision, our first inductee into the Game Zone Hall of Fame. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Game Zone. Sure hope you've enjoyed yourself. Remember, though, there's more to life than video games. It's just that video games give life its meaning. Send all your letters, questions, comments, complaints, videotapes, tips, tricks, strategies, and whatnot to Game Zone, care of Lee Bentley, 1718 Story, Houston, Texas, 77055. And until next time, I'll be seeing you in the Game Zone.